What's up, you guys? My name is Fernando. Welcome back to Financial FireFi, a journey to fire financial independence and retired early. There's very few times in history where one is able to observe and partake in history as it's unfolding, let alone take advantage of it and profiting off of the turmoil and tumultuous times. As such one rare individual in today's current age, I am able to do such from my cozy luxury apartment in New York City. By actively trading in my Robinhood portfolio and dollar cost averaging my M1 portfolio, I'm able to take advantage of these markets by putting my money to work and essentially buying great companies and great stocks at a discount. Now, it's hard to lose sight of the overall big picture in times like this, that there tends to be an over panic in the market, an overreaction at times. The uncertainty and speculation runs rampant. And for a singular instance like this, like an exception of a global pandemic, there is no precedent in modern times, so to speak, since the Spanish flu in 1918, which killed hundreds of thousands of people. But we obviously live in different times, a much more interconnected world that has vastly superior infrastructure and resources to deal with things. That being said, humans are still humans and react primally. And markets are an emotional mechanism and vehicle for that fiduciary emotion to arise in the public sector. And as one observes this over time and extrapolates and learns from the courses of history, you can see that the markets will inevitably rebound, and it's the most innovative, most well-positioned, undebt-burdened, credit-worthy companies that come out of these things better than ever before and stronger for the long run, more profitable and more superior. So we must look for these opportunities, and this is certainly one of those times, which is why I'm so excited, because I have been able to take advantage of these times. And particularly, I have been shorting the travel and airline industries. I am up 15%, roughly $1,800 on my Robinhood portfolio today. I took out a bunch of put options against the travel and airline industries. I do pick them individually, so we'll go into it, but I have Boeing, Delta, Marriott, Hilton, consumer goods, depending on what type of consumer goods. If it's not defensive or offensive, this is Starbucks, so that morning routine is going to be heavily disrupted in this new economy for the next couple months. And every $5 cup of coffee that they miss out in the morning decreases their earnings, decreases that revenue, and therefore decreases that market cap in such volatile bear market conditions. First, I just want to start out more on a positive note of all the opportunity out there, and just blatantly speaking, there is going to be a huge transfer of wealth within the next 20 years or so when the boomer generation hands over their over $68 trillion of wealth to the younger millennial generation, on top of other things such as climate change. But we're just going to stick to the financial aspect of that. As any transfer of wealth does, it takes time. And the funny instance of the times we live in now are that the pandemic we're dealing with and the crisis that we are dealing with and the event that we are dealing with may actually accelerate this transfer of wealth, in addition to being its own transfer of wealth in its own right. I mean that in two ways. I mean that in the sense that if you can time the market, if you can trade well, if you can look for needles in a haystack, you can obviously trade the market and short it like I'm doing right now, and I will continue to get better. The other way I mean by that, which is a little bit more cynical, is that this event is more high risk for the elderly, overweight, and pre-existing conditions demographic. And just based off the numbers, that is by far and in large the boomer generation. The boomer generation having so much wealth and having over 50% of all owned assets in the global economy, yet only being 16% of the global population, really shows the disproportionate, inequitable balance of wealth in the global economy and society at large. So this global pandemic is kind of a reckoning, but an acceleration of the already in progress redistribution of wealth that is coming. Looking at this from the outside and being able to speak to it is kind of a funny feeling because it happens so slowly. You can't see it. You can only feel it in a very existential sort of way. And I mean, I guess you can see it when parents pass away, grandparents pass away, and just the older generation begins to expire. So I guess that is one way to see it. But in large, as a global ecosystem, each individual passing on their wealth doesn't amount to very much. And it's only the aggregate of millions and millions of individuals' net worths being transferred over the next generation and possibly even accelerated now due to this virus that we're really going to start to see these effects. I don't know what's going to happen out of this global recession that we are almost inevitably going into now. But one thing I do know is that I will educate myself and hopefully continue to educate you that you can position yourself to take advantage of these things. And that tumultuous times aren't necessarily something to be afraid of or fearful, but rather an opportunity that needs to be learned from and embraced. Given the time and the effort, anyone can make something so frightful and scary seem like an opportunity for enlightenment and growth. So let's just get into it, because I have no idea what I just said. So let's just jump into the New York Times map, coronavirus map from the New York Times, tracking the spread of the outbreak. The coronavirus pandemic has sickened more than 78,000 people, according to official accounts, which we know are not accurate. As of Monday evening, at least 7,410 people have died, about half of them outside of mainland China now. Look at this, half of them outside of mainland China now. As the map shows below, infected people have been detected in at least 140 countries. Y'all, there are 200 countries on Earth. This is way above half the countries on Earth. It is now definitely in every country on Earth, on all the continents except Antarctica. China has curtailed quite nicely the spread of it. It's not really growing. Most of the cases are now outside of China. We have Korea, Japan leveling off decently, Korea kind of containing it. We'll see if a second wave hits there. Iran, definitely underreporting still by a factor of 5. They're probably at 50,000. Really no infrastructure to speak of here to deal with this. And 20 million more population than Italy, which has 27,000 cases. Now, if we look over here, Europe is the next fuck zone, with Spain in 9,100, France 66, and Germany 6,000. UK 15, and Iceland 100. Poor little Iceland. Somebody sneezed in a hot pool and kind of just got all the jacuzzi mucked up. Jumping over to North America here, we have Canada 400, US over 4,000 now, Mexico 82, Brazil, Argentina around a couple hundred, and Australia, Southeast Asia also a couple hundred. So as you can see here, truly global pandemic now. But what's really interesting is this isn't going to be a die out in cold weather situation anymore. It's pretty apparent that this is going to stick around for quite a while and have a massive economic and societal impact in the long run, most likely for the better in the innovation space, which I'm all for. So just scrolling down here, so Italy and Iran have by far the most number of cases, which is not to be surprising at this point. Spain, France, Germany, basically everywhere in Europe and South Korea are the next hotbeds, followed closely by the United States. Traveling to any of these countries is now off limits. The US just enacted the 30-day travel ban this Friday from Europe, scrambling for people to get back from here to here and get back home. There have been reports of people paying up to 20 grand plus for last-minute tickets from Europe back to United States, which hopefully the airport takes care of, because that is just absolutely ridiculous. So let's look at the little map here. We are truly in more exponential growth numbers. As we can see here, slight growth early January, A little bit of growth in February, substantial growth now in March. We have passed the point of no return. And extrapolating out here, this is going to go into the hundreds and hundreds of thousands, possibly even millions, in just a couple months. This is way more infectious than the flu, and we did not do enough in time. United States, still looking like a pubescent high school teenager. He needs to Washington his face. So United States here, it's flooded. You can see that. New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. New York is totally going to shut down soon. There is absolutely no way that this is sustained. California, Alaska, and Hawaii. So this thing is truly every United States. I don't know where this is, but it's definitely here. This is, I think, the most telling curve of all. This is my favorite curve. So this is total confirmed coronavirus cases, and it compares mainland China, which took drastic measures in the beginning of February to curtail this and cut off the spread. Meanwhile, the response time from the United States and the rest of the world has been drastically slower, and the exponential phase has only been prolonged from this long lag time or long lead time global response, which is only getting worse. So extrapolating this out here, this is going to go way into the hundreds and hundreds of thousands. It's already 200,000 officially recorded. Possibly in the next day or so might get surpassing 200,000 with more tests coming out. Jumping over to the Dow here, pretty typical. So the Dow dropped a cool 12.93% today, almost 13%, triggering another, what would have been another circuit breaker. That we've triggered 3 circuit breakers in the last 6 trading sessions, which is absolutely ridiculous, totally unheard of. But to that end, we are now in bear market territory, officially heading to a recession. Now, if we look here, just to put everything into context, up really until about 1990, there hadn't been any substantial growth in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. But once we started industrializing a little bit more heavily, getting into some analog digital technologies, we really hit this early growth period known as the dot-com bubble, where many millionaires and billionaires were coined, including Elon Musk and Mark Cuban. And you see the downturn after the 2001 dot-com bubble. Ramping up here in the decade after, we see the maturation of a lot of the other technological companies that were really founded in the dot-com bubble and matured there. But as we know, the subprime mortgage crisis of 2008 and the financial crisis of 2008 caused the Great Recession to absolutely crater pretty much below the lows of the dot-com bubble, which was a nice correction for these maturing techs. And now we enter the current bull run. The current bull run is the longest bull run in the history of the stock market from 2009 to 2020. 11 plus years of bull market growth, just insane. We could see we had some of these dips here, but really we were overdue for this in kind. We're up to 28,000 points on the Dow. We are now down to 23, a massive decline of roughly 20% already. Well, now a quick comparison I like to run real quick for fun is really kind of just seeing what's the performance of my portfolio to the Dow or another such index over the same period of time. And that will really give a good indicator of the performance and the skill that I've acquired over the time, and if my strategy is really paying off or I should change it and adjust it. So if we look here, the Dow started at roughly 2,400 back in early 2018, even 17. And if we jump over to my Robinhood portfolio here real quick, you'll see I started in May 2017, but really the period we're interested in is early May because it was pretty moot before that when I seriously started trading and actively investing. Now, if you see here, I am up from roughly $8,000 in early 2018 to now $13,700 and up at one point over 15 grand in the grand scheme here. So I've been up around 60% compared to the Dow losing 8%. A little bit more news: over 40 international routes suspended as American, Delta, and United react to Trump's surprise travel restrictions. Airlines are tanking, as a result of which I chose to take out a bunch of options and puts on the airlines. So jumping into my Robinhood portfolio here real quick, a lot of action for the day. We'll just run down the messages and give quick thoughts to what I was thinking throughout my trading day and really restructuring my portfolio. So I started with an OVO, bought 25 shares, dollar cost averaged in, reduced my average share substantially. I bought 2 shares of Tesla stock. I thought it was going to do pretty well I know it's going to do really, really well in the long run. This is one of the innovation plays. I will continue to buy up shares of Tesla and get in way, way lower. I sold out of my position at roughly 700. Super, super glad I did so. Took my profits there and very happy to dollar cost average in lower. Same thing with Apple. Took my profits when a dollar cost average in on the way down and the way up. Bought 2 shares here. Delta Airlines, bought a put for this $25 put expiring later this week at a price of $95 per contract. Chesapeake Energy, dollar cost averaged in here. The energies, it took a huge, huge hit this week with Russia and Saudis really playing chicken with the price of oil and just totally cratering the price per barrel, which is not really a good thing to do in a time like this. Just adds added pressure to the global crisis and landscape. Aurora Cannabis, dollar cost averaged in that way. JetBlue Airways, another airline put. Airlines are going down. Kronos Group, dollar cost averaging in. Microsoft took profits early on, dollar cost averaged in here. Nike, bought a contract of Nike, a put contract. Retail stocks not doing too hot. Closing a couple stores and bleak outlook for the next couple months. Disney, huge social face-to-face stock. They did release Disney streaming services. It's going to take a little bit of time to mature, but their theme parks are absolutely closed, and they will continue to pay out staff during this period, which will cost them inevitably hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. Uber, I think, is a solid play right now. Very cheap. Will continue to go lower. I will dollar cost average in here. But a lot of these tech stocks, I just wanted to have a little foot in the door, just in case they decided to pop up, or for whatever reason, magic happens and COVID-19 decides to disappear overnight. Hilton, bought a put, doing decently well. We'll go over the prices of all my puts in a second. But once again, hotel, travel, social stock, doing horribly in the foreseeable future and betting against it. Robinhood, automatic transfer. United Airlines, bought a contract here, $30 put expiring in 30/20, $150 per contract. And last but not least, Starbucks. Also consumer spending, but more of that early morning leisure sort of thing, not so much that consumer defense essentials, betting against that as well. So jumping over here, you can see quick visual representation of the options that I have. Running down real quick, United Airlines, positive 96, JetBlue, 2 options, negative 24, Delta Airlines, minus 28, Starbucks, took this out this morning, $312 gain, super sweet. Nike, almost $100 up, Hilton, $10 down. The best option play I've had so far is Boeing Airlines. Now, Boeing has compounding issues with their 737 MAX orders. In addition to these global climate crisis going on around them, supply chains and now demand being interrupted in the foreseeable future. So they're taking on a massive amount of debt just to remain viable But Boeing is one of the biggest companies and most important in the world as far as supply chains go. So they're super, super important, but they're going to be doing super, super poorly. And it shows. So I bought this put a couple of days ago, and I bought them when they're at 160. It's now doing very, very well. And that's really the large jump today in my portfolio. If we click in here real quick, we see that this put is up 117% today, up $15, just absolutely through the roof. Even for the week is up 134%. I called this pretty well. I think I'm getting better at trading. Hopefully I will continue to do good things like this. But very, very happy here. $5 up, United Airlines again, Marriott 110, American Airlines 93, or sorry, United Airlines, Hilton and Hilton plus 40 minus 5. So I essentially went shopping for puts this morning. I'll see how these mature. They expire in April for the majority of them, some of them this week and in March. Get rid of these soon, take my profits, pay my taxes, and just keep on going from there. This is my Robinhood, and so those are my puts. Those are my puts. That's how I'm taking advantage of the market, shorting the market. So here we have my M1 portfolio. Not much going on here. Just dollar cost averaging in. Return minus 34%, down $1,000. Pretty disappointing. Pretty depressing looking portfolio here, but this is to be expected, and it's pretty exciting to see the times we're in, because you know what, I'm just gonna dollar cost average in, keep buying up on a sale, and I really like all these companies. I'm not gonna go in depth, but maybe Macy's I would remove. I don't really like them. A BV, I don't know too much, but they're all doing all right. Gaming, leisure and pleasure, I think I would remove this as well. It's actually a pretty substantial portion of my portfolio in losses. And high yield, probably reallocate that. But everything else I'm pretty happy with. It's pretty moot. And it's on line with the overall market. Just jumping back to Boeing here real quick. If we look at Yahoo Finance all-time tracking map, we can really see a more contextualized graph of Boeing here. And 2008 levels, for reference, were really at $40 thereabouts a share, and even in 2001 with September 11th, 35. So these two really had low levels, and if you can see this massive bull run here, it needed a correction, it needed something, and it just so happens that COVID-19 made this glass castle tumbling down, along with the 730 MAX crashes. So really, this was kind of a sure put. There are very few sure things ever in life, especially with the stock market, and I do think I'm getting better at predicting these things, and this is one of the things I would say is a somewhat sure thing. Nasty debt position, nasty press, and now a nasty global economic condition. Just triple threat here. Boeing really struggling and getting downgraded all around. So there you have it. Quick update of my portfolio and the market and the global crisis condition we're in from COVID-19. I did forget to mention I am working from home for the next 3 weeks. I will try to be doing more videos more often. I totally put these off to the very last minute because I always think I have more time, and I obviously don't. But if you enjoy these videos, smash the like button, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and please comment down below. I would love to know what you think of these. What are you doing? How are you trading? What is your strategy? Are you buying? Are you holding? Did you panic sell? Did you panic buy? Let me know what you're doing down in the comments, and I will catch you later, Fireflies.